Hello everyone, good morning, welcome to the Wake Up. How are y'all doing today? We are good, I guess, after that Super Bowl last night. Sorry to everyone there to watch it, especially the halftime show. But on today's show, we're going to get you the reaction from everything that happened yesterday, from the interviews, to the ads, to the games, to the halftime show, and we'll look ahead about everything you need to know upcoming for today. Of course, yeah, we have to get out our rants about the Super Bowl, but there is a lot of news to talk to. Is just breaking now this morning, adding to the pressure on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro to step down. Spain, France, and Sweden all recognize opposition leader Juan Guaido as the nation's interim president and are urging him to hold a new presidential election. So, yeah. But that is a little glimpse into the frightening situation over in America at the moment, or in Venezuela at the moment. So, right now is really a historically long shutdown, no wall. Senate Republicans warning against national emergency declaration to get the wall. Weaponized leaks from Donald Trump's own staff and splashy headlines from tell-all books. Bickering with intelligence chiefs, the release of a Mueller report, congressional investigation starting this week, a subpoena blizzard in a percolating 2020 Democratic primary. You thought your life was rough? Well, Donald Trump is really about to get it. So these controversies overshadow any sort of legislative plans Trump might have for the next 2 years, though aides on the Hill previously told us they are hard-pressed to think of any. The president intends to talk about unity in a State of the Union address tomorrow night, but his own words and action have sown the division in his party and among voters. And turning the ship of state, if Trump's serious about it, will be extremely difficult. So we'll have to see. Here's what we can expect from Trump's speech tomorrow. It's going to be really attempt to reset. Trump's supposed to say, together we can break decades of political stalemate. That's what he wants to say, according to an excerpt of his prepared remarks offered by a senior administration official who briefed reporters last week. We can bridge old divisions, heal old wounds, build new coalitions, forge new solutions, and unlock the extraordinary promise of America's future. The decision is ours to make, is what he says. So, domestic policy is, a quote from that is, although the fight for the border wall has been a chief focus of Trump's for the past 2 months, the president's advisors have said his address would not be an immigration-centered jeremiad, but rather would set up a governing agenda for the year ahead. For instance, Trump plans to talk about infrastructure development, prescription drug pricing, two issues with broad bipartisan appeal. According to a senior White House officials, it's a pretty smart tack to take, getting the most popular stuff out of the way. But it is very clear to see what a difference a year makes here. In last year's joint address to Congress, Trump spoke at length about immigration. He outlined the four-pillar proposal to accomplish what he called critical reforms to the immigration system. The first pillar of our framework generously offers a path to citizenship for 1.8 million illegal immigrants who were brought here by their parents at a young age. That covers almost 3 times more people than the previous administration, he said at the time. Foreign policy. The president is also expected to talk about foreign affairs and highlight his administration's recent moves in Venezuela to force President Nicolas Maduro from power, as well as Trump's ongoing trade negotiation with China and his planned summit later this month with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. So that's going to be something where you're going to have a good opportunity to kind of tout his quote-unquote accomplishments and really hype those up. So Trump talked about ISIS last year, but 1 year later he said he's expected to say, I'm proud to report that the coalition to defeat ISIS has liberated almost 100% of the territory once held by these killers in Iraq and Syria, but there's so much work to be done. We will continue our fight until ISIS is defeated. That's what he said last year. But that's going to be drawing a little bit of question now with his recent moves to take troops out of Afghanistan and Syria. So, so that's something it's again, something that I'm personally really very conflicted on. So, yeah, Politico's Dan Diamond reports that Trump will also promise to end the HIV epidemic in America on Tuesday night. Under Trump's 10-year strategy, health officials would target the U.S. Communities with the most HIV infections and work to reduce transmissions by 2030. The strategy has been championed by top health officials, including HHS Secretary Alex Azar and CDC Director Robert Redfield. So that seems to be also pretty popular, which is nice. Yeah, so regardless, Trump might benefit tomorrow from pretty staggeringly low expectations. At other points, the president facing dropping poll numbers have chosen to be very conciliatory or very optimistic. Michael Waldman, who as chief White House speechwriter, helped pen President Clinton's State of the Union in the wake of the two government shutdowns between 1995 and 1996. That would surprise everyone here. I don't feel like that's in Trump's repertoire, but when he does it, it feels like he's reading under duress from a teleprompter. And everyone knows when he gets back to the White House, he'll start tweeting again. Couldn't have said that better myself, because that seems to be exactly kind of Trump's government strategy. Like, his aides can hold him to it, but not for that long. That's the very important thing. For Trump right now, this is go time. Frank Luntz says the speech on this night is not what you are against, it's what you're for. Tell the American people what you want to do and why. So that's pretty basic political strategy. So it's just that simple. So Trump sat down with a wide-ranging interview with Face the Nation anchor Margaret Brennan on Sunday. Brennan tweeted about the interview. In my view, at Real Donald Trump is a president who you need to hear deliver his views. Tone and inflection and unique rapid-fire delivery are part of his outstanding context. So in other words, watch my interview. So yeah, that doesn't really matter. But here's some of the notable things he said from that. He said, on his 13-year-old son Barron playing football, he's liking soccer. And a lot of people, including me, thought soccer would probably never make it in this country, but it's really moving forward rapidly. I just don't like the reports that I see coming out of this to do with football. I mean, it's a dangerous sport, and I think really, it's really tough. I thought the equipment would get better, and it has, Trump told Brennan. So, again, kind of pretty much just babbling about how his son doesn't like to play football, but all right. Trump declined to comment on whether or not the Mueller report should be made public, saying, quote, totally up to the Attorney General. I don't know. It depends. I have no idea what it's going to say. Excuse me. So that is something that, again, is going to be very important to, in my opinion, made public, because honestly, we need some real closure, at least after this, which is like that's probably the, if you really want to put it away, that would probably just about do it. So, does Trump trust John Bolton, the former administration staffer and Iraq War advocate? After Trump ordered to the Iraq War as an example of why a president needs to sometimes disagree with the assessment of his intelligence chiefs, Brennan asked if Trump trusted his national security advisor, John Bolton, who had advocated for the Iraq War. I do, and I respect John, and John is one of the people that happens to be testifying. It's not one of the people, sorry, that happens to be testifying. So it was like, I didn't talk all that about me in front of Congress. I don't really mind you. So even after he says his intelligence chiefs are naive, but just not the ones who didn't testify against me, you know. So yeah, on ISIS, one of the most remarkable exchanges was when Trump stated if there was a resurgence of terrorist groups in Syria and Afghanistan after the U.S. to withdraw, the United States would simply return to the region. You know what we'll do? We'll come back if we have to. We have fast airplanes. We have very good cargo planes. We can come back very quickly, and I'm not leaving. We have a base in Iraq, and the base is a fantastic edifice. I mean, I was there recently, and I couldn't believe the money that was spent on these massive runways. I've never seen anything like it, and it's there, and we'll be there. And frankly, we're hitting the caliphate from Iraq as we slowly withdraw from Syria, Trump told Brennan. So that's all very cool stuff. All very cool stuff. So yeah, you really do need to listen to him. If I just read it to you now, he sounds like a babbling buffoon, but it's hilarious. So yeah, there is that. So the fight for the wall continues right now. Also on the Hill, the fight over Trump's wall along the U.S.-Mexico border will be represented through lawmakers' State of the Union. Yes, Democrats plan to bring speech refugees to the speech refugees, immigrants, and former Trump organization staffers, or Republicans will be seated with Border Patrol staff and the parents of children killed by illegal immigrants. Power Up touched base with Ryan Hampton, an activist in recovery from a heroin addiction, offered the American fix, who will be a guest of the House Democrats last night. Tomorrow night. So, the House Democrats are going to be inviting that guy. So, he said it's easy, talking about opioid addiction, he said, to Trump, so he says, stop using the opioid crisis as your rationale for the wall. It's a wrong and dangerous narrative. He says, there was a narrative out there that if we get this border wall, which is an unsophisticated solution to a massive public health problem, I don't know about what it's a solution to that, but that will stop the crisis. The same mentality of the failed tactics on the war of drugs. I think he's very, very right about that. So, the majority of opioids, but I don't think it's just a basic and blatant attempt to solve the drug crisis, though. I think there's something deeper and more sinister behind it from Trump and the right. So, the majority of opioids entering the United States are coming through legal points of entry. Just last week, the largest ever stash of fentanyl was seized by the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol protection officials at a legal border crossing in Arizona. So, otherwise, something that a wall would not stop. Just, again, and I, too, continue to bring this up. What have Democrats consistently said they're for? More drug spotting technology at the border. More, like those machines, those technologies that are actually going to help and make a real difference. Like, that would be incredibly powerful and influential. So, in other opioid-related news, New York Times reports on how the McKinsey consulting firm is advising Purdue Pharma on how to turbocharge sales of OxyContin and how to counter efforts by drug enforcement agencies to reduce opioid use. We're part of a team, that looked on how to counter the emotional messages from mothers with teenagers that overdosed on the drug. So pretty much what they tried to do is, it's really pretty incredible. So Anand Girardis says the arsonist, in other words, must be in charge of fighting the fire, referring to Purdue Pharma making a drug that would stop the opioid crisis, and it just an attempt to stop the opioid crisis they created. So that he writes, then you have this chart, McKinsey, the consulting firm, advising tactics for fighting the opioid crisis that include some of the same tactics it allegedly advised Purdue Pharma to beat back. This is literally fighting on both sides of the war, with the only good side marketed and made a report. So, that is what he was trying to do. What they were trying to do is, again, just kind of get on both sides of the war to profit really as much as possible. It's really some just scary and despicable stuff. All right. We are going to do one more political-related story, then we'll go to the Super Bowl. In Virginia, the governor of Virginia called an unscheduled emotional staff meeting just before the start of the Super Bowl as he considers resigning and has another one planned for this morning. The Post reports that Ralph Northam has not made a final decision about whether to step down about his after 2 days of standing his ground, first apologizing, then insisting he was not a participant in a racist picture published in the 1984 medical school yearbook. This is, again, literally insane. I talked about this a little bit Friday when the story was first breaking on Newsflash, but since then it really has gotten infinitely more crazy. One of the things that he did was after saying that he put on blackface another time, just admitting it right out there, that he put on blackface at another time just to be at a Michael Jackson interview. The reporter asked him for some reason, maybe trying to bait him into it. It was like, can you do the moonwalk? And then he looked like around like he was about to do it. And then his wife was like, no, honey, no. But the thing is, National Democrats here, concerned about the impact of Northam staying at the helm in the key swing state in 2020, were relentless in calling for him to step down. They include DNC Committee Chair Tom Perez, Terry McAuliffe, Virginia Rep. Donald McEachin, who's a member of the CBC. He's saying he's, quote, lost the authority to lead. Pretty strong thing. Pretty strong statement there, saying he's lost the authority to govern. He has to resign. It's in the best interest of the Commonwealth, and it's in the best interest of the party. So, Congressional Black Chairwoman Karen Bass noted again that, as I just said before, that Northam seemed about to do the moonwalk, though he was stopped by his wife after admitting he rubbed shoe polish on his face dressing up as Michael Jackson. He was completely disingenuous when he talked about it. He didn't understand that this is 1984 and this was commonplace. he basically said he participated in it. So he pretty much admitted it, and he said he really gave the impression, at least to her, that he did not understand the impact of what he had done. Also, most 2020 candidates called for him to resign. All odds, though, are now on to